Good evening. Guess who I am? It's Leslie Davis again, here with a wonderful show going live for the first time from MTN in Minneapolis. I have terrific people helping me. Marcos doing a lot of technical stuff. Ivana's going to be here for this close-up shot that we're going to do on a leg hold trap. And I'll bet hardly any of you, except maybe for my friend Greg down in Austin, Minnesota, have ever seen a leg hold trap or know what they are. But we're going to have a live demonstration of them. And I'm here with my animal friends. These are Earth Protector animals, Paddletail, Nibbles, and making a special guest appearance is Mary, the mink. You won't see her again. She's just here for our leg hold trap demonstration. So we're going to talk about this menu of issues. Money, where money comes from, how it comes into circulation, what the money plan that I'm promoting is all about. My run for the U.S. Congress, we'll talk a little about that. An issue close to my heart is the Upper Harbor Terminal right here in Minneapolis. I'll show you how a group of insiders are stealing the land and doing things that are not beneficial to the people. The leg hold trap, that's going to be a big feature with the animals, and Yvonne's going to do a close-up of me setting the leg hold trap. That's going to be kind of interesting for you. If it does get a little clumsy, I'm sure you're going to be patient with me on that. Then we're going to talk about energy, and I'm going to show you the book that I'm using to talk about energy in my congressional race, what we need to do in America about energy. You don't need to march and let the kids out of school fearful about climate change. We just need to do things more efficiently. And then we'll talk about fluoride. The fluoride being put in our public water calcifies the body and the brain, and it's really harmful to people. And we need to get the fluoride out of our public water supplies. We get enough fluoride from the food that we eat and the other places in our society that we don't have to have it directly in our water. When it's in the water, in the drinking water, it's in your bath water, in your laundry, in your dishes. We don't need to have that. I want to talk a little bit about the diet. This high fructose corn syrup, the diabetes epidemic. And you know, now that we have the diabetes epidemic, the price of insulin goes up through the roof, and the Earth Protectors are working on trying to identify how other people can manufacture insulin. Why should the prices be so high? It's not some magic formula. We've been producing insulin for decades. We should be able to produce it at a nickel an ounce. And 5G. 5G is what they're promoting as a high-speed internet process. But I have a problem with the 5G. I've looked at a couple of hundred different papers, some scholarly peer-reviewed, some copies of other stuff, but the 5G network is really going to be harmful to the public, and you need to pay close attention to it. It's not just a step up above 4G. 5G is going to be harmful. It's more dense, it's tinier radio waves, and it can penetrate the body. So we'll get on with that. But this is the list that I'm going to go on for tonight's show. To begin with, on the money issue, I've been on it for more than 10 years. We'll talk about, we're going to get this right side up. Davis, some folks say, well, you're just about money. I says, everybody's about money. What do you mean I'm just about money? You get up in the morning, you have to have money. Give the kids money for lunch, or go to school, for fuel for the car, for whatever it is that you do. Money is one of the most important things in your life. I'm not talking about money in place of your health or anything like that. I'm just talking about money, and that my plan of how to bring money into circulation and what to do with it is better than what we're doing now. All the money now is debt. And how do I know all that? My colleagues, the guys I'm working with, Byron Dale and Gregory Soderberg, they wrote this book, Modern Money Secrets. I've read this book, every page of it. It tells you exactly where money comes from, how it comes into circulation, how it changed over the last couple of hundred years. So I know as much about money as anybody in the world. Some people, when I go to fight with the legislature, I used to go to talk to them, now I go to fight with them. They say, well, did you go to the Wharton School of Finance, or did you go to Princeton or Harvard? I said, I don't know that. I mean, I don't have to be a chemical engineer in order to put gasoline in a car engine, and I don't have to go to Stanford or Harvard to read this book and know all about money. Byron Dale, who is working with Gregory Soderbergh on this money issue, he contacted the Treasury Department and put together this book of their answers to his letters that he would contact them for to the U.S. Treasury. And this is Tales of the Treasury. So these are not fictitious things. These are not fantasy things that I'm making up. These are factual ideas and thoughts from the Treasury Department as to where money comes from. And they say that our plan would be a terrific idea. Well, why can't it pass? Because the politicians are afraid to do that. Maybe Gregory and Byron say that's because they're afraid that the bankers are going to withhold the campaign money. Well, that could be. Some say they might be afraid of the Federal Reserve. When Kennedy did X, Y, and Z, they assassinated him because he was opposed to the Federal Reserve. So I don't know. I'm not afraid. I'm not a fearful candidate. I'm not a fearful person. I talk about the truth and important issues. So with the money plan, we'll bring money into circulation when I'm in Congress. We have that plan. We already have a piece of legislation. It's a 5-pager. And what it will do is require the Treasury Department to create all the money for the roads and bridges and transportation instead of the government borrowing the money. And what it means for you is if you have a vehicle, we're going to remove the fuel tax and axle tax. It automatically put money in your pocket. It'll lower the cost of living. It'll reduce inflation, stop inflation, and we'll build state-of-the-art roads and bridges, collecting the runoff of electric charging station at rest stop areas, all the things that would make up state-of-the-art roads. And it will be all paid for with debt-free money, money created by the government specifically for that. So some people say to me that I try to talk about this money plan. They said, well, then we can do that for hospitals and schools and other. I said, no, it has to be for something that the Constitution and or the Congress had designated. The Constitution talks about coining money and post roads, because if you don't have good roads and bridges, you can't get to your own funeral and you can't bring the baby home. Everybody benefits from good roads and bridges. Hospitals and schools, that's more specific to people's needs. An older guy is not interested in paying for elementary schools, but everybody needs roads and bridges, and that's why we want the government to create the money to pay for that. So that's what the plan basically calls for, and you would think that by now the legislators would have put forward the legislation, but they're not. So I have it. I'm recruiting help. I've contacted that one-eyed congressman down in Texas, that guy Crenshaw. He hasn't answered yet, but I'm going to get on his case because he's a smart guy, former Navy SEAL, dedicated American, a patriot. I think he's going to join with us and be part of our money plan. My colleagues are calling it the American Transportation Act, but I call it the Davis Money Plan. So here's where my information comes from. Where does yours come from? Do you know where money comes from and how it comes into circulation? My colleagues met with this buffoon, State Representative Greg Davids from Preston, Minnesota, and we've met with him numerous times and got provided with information, and he's supposed to be a financial planner and a know-it-all legislature for 15 or 20 years. He used to be the chair when the Republicans controlled the House in Minnesota. He used to be the chairman of the Taxes Committee. Well, the buffoon tells my colleagues that he doesn't get it. I don't understand the money plan. Well, where does the money come from? I said, I don't know. Where does the money come from today? It's not from the tooth fairy. It's created in the computers when people take a loan. All the money in circulation today is a result of a loan that somebody took someplace. So when you get your paycheck or you get your money from the government, somebody had to borrow it someplace. And so they said, well, how come there's so much? Because there's more borrowing. The government is borrowing. They're borrowing for the roads. You know, they're even talking now about borrowing money to build more roads in Minnesota. Well, we're not going to borrow more money to do it. We don't have to. We can create the money without debt. So that covers the money plan. We have it. You can go to my website, lesliedavis.org, and you'll see the money plan highlighted, page by page. You could go over it in detail. It's at lesliedavis.org. So there you are. Leslie, if people tell you that Davis is all about money, you tell them that's okay. If that's the worst thing anybody has to say about me, I'm cool with it, that I'm all about money. But money in your pocket, this is what this is about. You'll benefit for personally, lower cost of living. You know, I've told some folks in a conversation, when I was a kid, I paid a nickel to ride the bus or the trolley. And the other day or today, I paid $2.50. $2.50, 50 times more than it used to be. A house, when my folks bought a house back in the 30s and paid $6,000 or $8,000 for it, that house sold a couple of years ago for $480,000. Well, how can a $6,000, $7,000 house sell for $480,000? Well, think about it. That's inflation. And who benefits from that? The bankers and the people that are controlling the money. So this will loosen it up, and the money plan will benefit everybody. So let's go on to my U.S. Congress campaign. I'm running as a Republican, and they're not crazy about me, because you can't win any public office that I'm aware of unless you're part of the Republican or Democratic Party. So some people bring up this, well, Jesse Ventura, he became governor with the Reform Party or without a party. Well, I've got a whole story about Jesse Ventura. I wrote a book about him, how he became governor of Minnesota. So don't use that as an example. So if you're not a Democrat or a Republican, you're not going to be able to get into the Congress. So I'm joined up with the Republicans. They said, well, why? I said, I worked with the Democrats, the DFLers. They changed the rules at a convention in order to keep me from speaking because my ideas are so good. So, I support the protection of unborn babies and their mothers. So you can't be a Democrat or a DFLer because they support abortion on demand. You want to do it? You want to vacuum out the baby 1 month, 6 months, 7 months? Go ahead and do that. Well, do you want to support a person that doesn't protect an unborn baby inside a mother? I mean, come on, think about that. It's not a question of pro-choice or pro-life. It's pro-human. It's a human thing to do. I said, well, okay, something happens, somebody gets pregnant, they have a situation, everything needs to be dealt with and handled and managed. And everything can be worked out if it's discussed and considered ethically. But to do 60 million abortions, 60 million. You can start counting now for the rest of your life, whatever age you are, from 1 to 60 million, and you won't finish counting in your lifetime. And that's how many babies they've aborted, been destroyed. So you want to be with a party, you want to be with a group of people that destroys little helpless unborn babies? So that's part of my thing for Congress. Now I'm going to slip over to the Upper Harbor Terminal here in Minneapolis. That's a piece of land that used to be used for barges pulling in at the Upper Harbor Terminal. And what happened now is they've closed access to that part of the river. There's a shot of the Upper Harbor Terminal, and where you see the colored portion, that's this 48-acre site that I'm talking about. You see in the background, that's downtown Minneapolis. And Dowling Avenue, that's my neighborhood. I live on Lowry Avenue, which is just a little south. Look a little south down there, and you'll see Lowry Avenue. That's my street. So I'm right in the neighborhood, and that's my territory. And what they want to do, these people that got control of the Upper Harbor Terminal, ahead of the public, they've taken it over, and they want to build a music venue. They call it a music venue. And there's a little shot of it on this property. She said, oh, music venue, that'll be great, and we'll have music, and kids can go there and all that. I said, that's not what we need. We need production. We need jobs and people producing in the neighborhood. So I said, this is just a place for First Avenue Productions in Minneapolis to sell alcohol. They said, well, they sell alcohol at the Twins games and the Vikings games. I said, yeah, but the Twins ballpark and the U.S. Bank Stadium, That's for football and baseball, where some people drink or they have a drink. This place is a place where people drink and they have some music. So there's a big difference between buying a drink or a beer at a Twins game or having this in the neighborhood. And you know what happens after a music venue? And you could check this out with the police. The drunks leave the music venue, publicly urinating, and I know that because my friend used to live right down the road from Susie's little club on Marshall Street. And when the people come out of the bar, they don't go run into the venue. They urinate in the street publicly, chasing down prostitutes wherever they can find them. That's a fact. That's not Leslie giving you an opinion. So you want to release thousands of drunkards into north and northeast Minneapolis, and you think that's what the neighborhood needs? And some rinky-dinky part-time jobs that a music venue would create? It's a scam that First Avenue Productions, the Frank family, took control of that portion of the Upper Harbor Terminal with the Pohlad family. You know the Pohlads, they own the Twins and the ballpark and a gazillionaires. They, along with Frank and their paid-off politicians, support what they're proposing to do. So I'm fighting them. I go to the meetings. I'm the only voice for alternative to the Upper Harbor Terminal. It's a terrific property. It has a railroad spur. It has access to the river. And when I'm in Congress, I'm going to call for the reopening of the lock and dam. Beautiful spot. Dowling Avenue, if you take Dowling over from the Upper Harbor Terminal, you get right on Highway 94. Terrific access. You've got a railroad spur that comes in there. You've got barge access on the river. But what happened is they took control over the politicians in North Minneapolis, this guy Cunningham and Ellison, the two councilmen. So they say because they're African-American councilmen, they were able to influence the neighborhood because, our councilmen, they're not going to burn. Of course they're going to burn you. They're going to burn you because they're promised favors by the politicians in order to go along with this. So they're supporting this, and they know that I've attacked them and I've opposed it and that they're in trouble. So they've already changed the plans for the Upper Harbor Terminal a couple of times. And I attend all the meetings and I bring that up and I mention that to them. And I talk to the people in the neighborhood. I said, do you want these folks coming out of the music venue into your neighborhood, tracking down any woman that's walking? No, I don't think so. Upper Harbor Terminal, bad idea. Leslie Davis's idea to grow food in glass greenhouses, hydroponically grown organic food in a number of greenhouses. Non-psychoactive hemp, meaning doesn't get you high. Hemp is going to be grown throughout Minnesota on millions of acres in the months and years to come. And from hemp, you can make wonderful food, fuel, fiber, pharmaceuticals. You could make thousands of products for hundreds of businesses. But there's no place in Minnesota to process the hemp that's going to be grown on all these farms. So I want to process them at the Upper Harbor Terminal, processing non-psychoactive hemp as the second opportunity for that. And we could bring them in on barges, out on rail and truck, and things as such. They talk about putting affordable housing, like only $240,000 for a house instead of $310,000. But it's not appropriate for housing at the Upper Harbor Terminal because the GAF shingle manufacturers emit these toxic air pollutants like formaldehyde right next to the Upper Harbor Terminal. So you're not going to build housing over there and raise kids, and why would you? This is a wonderful industrially zoned property, perfect for jobs and future wealth creation, and people will get ownership in that, the people that are in the neighborhood. They're not going to get anything from them except maybe a place to fish on the river or some free tickets to the music venue. That's the little carrots that they give out at the things. And one of the meetings 3 weeks ago, the owner says, well, we might name the building the Prince Performing Arts Center. I said, you got 1 million buildings you can name the Prince Performing Arts Center. You don't want to put that on something that's improper on the river. That's going to release a bunch of drunks into the neighborhood. So they do that because they're going to say Prince, and that's going to help the neighborhood or help the young people. I agree, he was a great musician, and he gets a lot of appreciation and admiration, but not at the Upper Harbor Terminal. That's for production, jobs, and wealth generation for the future for the community. So that's the Upper Harbor Terminal. Now we'll get to the leg hold trap. The leg hold trap that Mary was caught in the old days was problematic because, you know, animals go along, and I'm going to show you a little demonstration how the leg hold trap works, and then I'm going to show you an image of a dog that was caught in one, but we're not going to do that now. I'm going to set this leg hold trap and show you how it works. So watch this. Let's see, where's my flag? Over here. So what happens with this, they set him out in the woods in different places where they know animals walk back and forth. And I know it looks like a harmless metal little thing, but let me show you what happens when we set it. I'm going to do this carefully. I'll bring this chair over to stabilize me while I do this. So you spread it open like this, and these are put that down, and this goes under here. Let's see if I got it yet. There we go, I think I did it. Now the leg hold trap is set. They'll put a little something in it, like meat or a Big Mac. Well, I have to do a little Mac because it's a little trap. And along comes the animal, unbeknownst to them, and the food is on here, and I'm going to watch it. Bang. And that's it. Caught. And that's what happened. That's what happened to Mary. Mary, unlucky little mink. You got a picture of Mary? I don't see a picture of Mary.
I got it on my camera.
It's over there. No picture of, oh, there's Mary. Next to the leg hold trap. So that's what happened to her. So a lot of times people walk along in the woods. We have that picture of the dog. One of the things that concerns folks is that dogs get caught in a leg hold trap because they don't know. He's just sniffing along, and there he is. Now, I've seen dogs rescued from leg hold traps that are really difficult to get open, so you need to get a little professional support. Oh, I need to move this chair away. I'm getting some help. Yvonne the Wonderful is moving the chair for me. Look at that, isn't that terrific? Okay, so that's the leg hold trap. And we're letting you know about that because it's similar to the landmine issue. You know, people don't know about it as we go and enjoy our lives, but people almost every day around the world are victimized and hurt by these landmines. There's in Vietnam, and people are out in their fields and so on, and every once in a while, somebody steps on one, and a landmine goes off and blows off their leg. And you know, they've got dumped thousands of landmines throughout the Middle East, and supposed to be a barrier for that. So I want to move on a little bit because a lot of what I'm doing focuses on my campaigns. When we talk about energy, this is my energy plan. This is the book put out by the Rocky Mountain Institute. You don't have to march for climate change. You need to take action. This is about conservation and efficiency and making buildings and cars and houses energy efficient. That will reduce energy consumption and reduce pollution. You know, all these people marching and their kids, they're not going to do anything about climate change. They're just being scared by these people. They're making it a billion-dollar industry. So I have the solution to the climate change. Fluoride in the water is a terrible thing. calcifies the bones in the body. The pineal gland, some call it the pineal gland in the brain, calcifies, causes mental problems. We have absolute scientific scholarly evidence that IQ is lost from excessive fluoride, and that's a real problem. So anybody that has children and they're drinking public water needs to be concerned about the IQ of the children. You ever see the little spots and marks on the teeth of children? That's fluorosis from fluoride in the water. Very harmful. Diet, I've spoken about that numerous times. Diabetes and excessive, this obesity problem is because of the bad food. High fructose corn syrup and other chemicals in the food. We're hardly eating food anymore, you know. It's a lot of chemicals and preservatives and processed food. And the 5G. That's the main problem with me now. I'm working on trying to convince this big-time attorney to represent earth protectors and the people of Minnesota to stop the city of Minneapolis from implementing the 5G technology. They're wiring up throughout the city. The problem with 5G is that the waves are dense and sharp, and a lot of them. And because the 5G doesn't go through walls and things like other electronic technologies, they have to be close together, the antennas. And they're putting them in all over the place now. These antennas are going in, they did it already near the US Bank Stadium. So we all need to get together and we put an injunction to enjoin the city of Minneapolis from expanding the installation of the 5G technology. So I think we did that in a big rush. Half hour's gone, 29 minutes. Contact me at earthprotected.org. I've got 2 websites, lesliedavis.org, earthprotected.org. There we go. I have emails. There's my phone number. You can call me anytime, 24/7. If I'm not there to take the phone, it goes right into the voicemail. So we've covered all the issues. And I thank you very much for watching. I think we're just about out of time here. So I'm Leslie Davis, candidate for U.S. Congress. And if you don't get me, you got nothing. You're going to have the same old stuff. More debt money, more difficulty in your life, more problems in the schools with lower IQs due to the fluoride in the water. So help me out. Let me know. I'm Leslie Davis. Thanks a lot for watching.